Hello, this is the demo for the supplemental part of the skeletal system demo. What we have on our left-hand side is our browser, which has a minimal UI, and on the right-hand side is going to be the terminal that will then show the logs for our backend service. So we have two major endpoints that we support in our CRUD API. So we have a games domain and a templates domain. Templates are the question pools that we use to generate questions for a given game, and games have a reference to templates when creating them. So a user can create a game and have a template which has a pool of questions that could be available when they start the game. On the right-hand side here, we have a very simple post request we're going to call to the games endpoint that will create a game that has a name of demo game we lit, a description, and a template ID, which is an exact identifier for this example summer party template. So in this case, we got a successful 200 response. This is the game ID right here. If we select this and also refresh the games endpoint, we will see that we have a new saved game. In this case, this has the same identifier. It has a couple of metadata fields for the status, the description, and all of the internal logic that we use to determine the current state of the game. We have the template, and we have a couple of attributes we'll go through once we actually start the game. In our UI, we can go to the games page, which in this case is just the ID and a mock user ID. Here we have the title demo game we lit, which is getting pulled from our API. We have our version for our individual build of this application. On the right bottom footer, we have the status for the backend, which is our REST API, and the top right is the connection for our WebSocket. If we open up our terminal here, we'll see on the left-hand side here, these are the logs for the actual WebSocket server running on the backend. So we'll see that this session here literally just joined this room ID. We'll see some additional metadata for debugging purposes like the user, the host, and what user is spinning, which in this case is undefined because the game hasn't started. In this case, there's only one user in the game. If we go to the games endpoint, we'll see that there is a player order of 1, and there is one user, which is myself, user ID 1, that has a score of 0 and 0 freebies. What we can then do is we can start the game, and we'll note on the terminal on the right-hand side here, we will get some logs for the status of the game actually starting. So we'll go ahead and press the start game. We will see that we have new game questions generated from our template, which then get pushed into our pool. We had a couple of toasts that showed the fact that the new user, which is myself, the only user in the game, was nominated to start. And we have the option to then spin. In this case, any user that gets added can spin. It's only hosts that are able to start the game and end it. In this case, we are the only player, so we can spin, and we will see that in the right-hand side, we are processing the input result. We are returning the result as a toast, which in this case was an opponent choice, and we renominate the only next user. If we spin again, we can see what we get based on the pool. Looks like we got a spin again option. If we do it again, we got a player's choice. If we do it again, we got a music category, and in this case, it has a literal to a template question ID. If we copy this in time, and we go to our games endpoint and we refresh, we'll see that the games object here, which the template only has one question, we spun a category of music, which has this template question ID right here, which we can then do a lookup to then determine what question we would ask, which in this case is, what is DJ Khaled's classic line, which is obvious, we the best music. And that is the I guess, finite state machine for the game. We will have users continuously spin and get nominated. And then at the end, the user can either end the game if they want to rage quit, or the game would end on itself based on, getting to the max number of questions. To mimic the end game, we would simply call end game, which will show the logs here, and also show a toast, and then redirect us back to the main flow, which will then also kick all users in the WebSocket. So if we click that, it boots us, it says game over, it sees that we are ending the game and emitting the game over event. And then if we go back here, notice I haven't refreshed. It still thinks we're playing because I haven't actually done a GET request. If I refresh this, we should see that it is game ended. And then we also have an ended time. That is the demo. Thank you.